All right. I'm just going to test the sound real quick for the YouTube. Hello, hello. All right. I'm just going to.
Hello.
Okay, good. I was like, I just always test that it can actually
Yes,
do
you can
us
hear.
made us bigger.
Yeah, there we go. we
So
look
there
like
may
we look like we're sitting on the couch next to each other almost in the
right.
same room.
There may have been an issue with Tammy. We don't really know what's going on, but it's
Yeah, bless her heart.
so
I hope she's not stressing out trying to figure out how to get here right
yeah. I
now.
was like, if you do see us, Tammy, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? You just click that link in the host chat that I had sent you earlier. That's for this. That's the special link for you to be on the screen with us.
And if
That
you're
this
in there and you might need to get out and get back in because that's what happened to me. So sometimes if you leave and come back, you might pop up even if you didn't before.
but we'll let you in whenever. I'll look over every once in a while. So even if it's during the movie when you show up, I'll get you in here for the end. But we'll give you a little more time. Kelly has some funny celebrity stories. So
Well, I'm trying to think about the very best. I live in Oklahoma now, but I lived in the Los Angeles area for 8 years. And okay, here's a good one. I used to teach at this Pilates studio that was also a spin studio, and my husband would take spin classes there. And there's this one celebrity that would come from Bones. His name was TJ Thine. He played Jack Hodgson on the show Bones. And I went in the room, and I don't think he realized that was my husband. And my husband was like, "Can I have a kiss?" And I just like kissed him, and I think he thought I was like just being like random, like kissing random people. And he was kind of looking at me weird. And then he out of nowhere he says, "How do I have to pay extra to get that treatment or something like that?" And my husband just kind of looked at him and was like, "You're married." This is not a Pilates perk, you know. I
he
guess
was like,
somebody
I want some of
he
that.
was such a nice guy. He ended up taking my Pilates class on, but there are so many weird, sketchy things that do happen sometimes in Los Angeles that it's not as random of a thing to say. But um, yeah, it was funny. But
I
um,
heard a funny celebrity story from
yeah,
CJ Redwine
okay.
with her husband. So CJ Redwine is a extreme fan of Tom Hiddleston, the guy who
Hmm.
plays Loki.
Hmm.
And so her husband decided to get her a huge life-size cutout of
Oh
the
my
actor.
gosh, that's funny.
And then he's sometimes in like the celebrity scene, the music stuff, because I think he did radio or something like
Yeah.
that. So the guy came into the studio that day. So he brought the life-size cutout into the bathroom and had him sign it. And then CJ was like, "Did you let him wash his hands first?" So she has a full-size cutout of Loki.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I don't know. I think if I would have seen that in the bathroom, I might have gotten a little freaked out.
Yeah, like, oh, myself.
I know. I guess they're probably used to people fanning over them so much that, they're probably ready for about anything.
See, I've gotten to the point where, like, it happens with authors too. Like, they'll have these big, huge lines and
Yeah.
fangirl and cry over them, and they'll drive 6 hours to go get
Yeah.
their book signed. So I've seen that from going to a bunch of author events to the point to where now I don't really ask for like pictures or anything like that because I'm
Yeah.
after so many, I
Yeah.
know they're getting
And
tired.
that was one thing. I never approached any of the celebrities that like I saw like in Los Angeles. I was a big Gilmore Girls fan, and I saw Alexis Bledel at Target. We had like the same Target schedule. I swear, I would see her all the time, and it was so fun to see her. But I never approached her. I never said anything. My
But
husband,
your
my
kind of
husband and I
interaction would
loved
be
the.
nothing if that was the only interaction. But
Yes,
it's going to be like
it's
a
going to be
hundred
like a
people
million.
that day.
My husband did there's if you live in LA, the Ralph's on Ventura and Studio City is a great place to see celebrities. Um, I um I had Christina, which one was it? Christina Applegate. I was there the day before Thanksgiving, not a great day to be at the store, but she was coming around a corner as I was coming around a corner and we crashed. And she was so sweet. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry." Like you could tell she was a girl on a mission. She was going fast and but she was so humble. And she's been like on in the media a lot lately because going through like a major health crisis and everything. And definitely seems like just a sweet person, definitely does her own grocery shopping. And she hits you with her cart. Will say I'm sorry, but um, my husband and I were huge we were huge Angels fans, the baseball team, but we were huge fans of the show Angel. And the girl that played Fred on that, she was on an elevator at that Ralph's with my husband, and he's like, we just love the show. And she was really, I think that's the only time we ever talked to anybody because they were kind of stuck together for a minute. And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much," and she was really, gracious as well. And they kind of continued to talk as they got out of the elevator for a minute. So
I will say one of the authors that was like that with the picture thing, because I just stopped asking, Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Really?
You don't even ask her. She's just like, "You want a picture? You want a picture?"
See, I think that.
Okay. She's like, no, come on, get a picture.
I think that is so sweet because I am an introvert, and I think that I would have a hard time asking, even though I would probably desperately want one. So that's so kind for them to just be like,
line, and she was just like, yeah, and she wouldn't be like behind the table, like she'd come out in front and get pictures, and so she was really nice.
In Oklahoma, our celebrity is the Pioneer Woman. I don't know if you know who that is. If you've ever watched any Food Network, her name's Ree Drummond, and she's written books about just like she was like a city girl and she lived in LA, and then she went back home and met a cowboy and ended up marrying him and going to his ranch. And just like she cooks just like, down home's Oklahoma style food. And people lose their minds over her here in Oklahoma when she has a book signing, and it'll be like, just way out the door. But I heard that she had one in LA while we were living there. And it's like you wonder, does anybody even show up or know who this lady is? Does anybody cook chicken fried steak here? I don't think so.
Well, it was like a TikTok the other day. Yeah. And it was this guy that he voiced a character. I don't even know who the character is, but it's like this guy who's like in at least his mid-60s. And he was at a Harry Styles concert with his daughters. So then after the concert, he was waiting outside, and all these girls kept coming up to get pictures and signatures and all this other stuff, like these teenage girls. And then he also said, "Yeah, I saw this TikTok video where someone was filming me in the concert and they didn't know who to fangirl over most. So it was this guy that was freaking out, and he was like, so and so, Harry Styles, so and so, Harry Styles." He just kept like moving the camera back and forth, like hyperventilating. And I was like, "Oh my."
At the end of the day, they're just people. Something you have to remember is they're people. They have the same problems that we do. They typically have a lot more financial freedom than we do, probably. But it comes with a pretty big cost. When Miley Cyrus was a little girl, I remember this was many years ago. I was teaching at the studio, and she happened to stop at a Coffee Bean that was in the same complex as where I taught, and the paparazzi were causing major traffic problems. It's just like, you think this is an underage child that they're stalking. And it's really creepy. It was because she's a little girl. Then it's like, if you choose to still do those types of things when you're grown up, I guess you have to take what it gets. But when you're a child, it's just like there should be some clear boundaries, and there were not. Things have changed and improved.
I have a lot more understanding now of why celebrities go bad, because you don't understand how much anxiety they have.
Yeah, I don't think I would be able to handle being being famous. I've always just liked small projects where a small group of people will appreciate it. So, and I don't foresee like having a YouTube channel with like 200,000 subscribers or anything like that. It'd be nice to get like up to 1,000 someday or something. But
that would
I
be my
think,
goal, just so I can
yeah,
be monetized.
yeah, that would be
A
nice.
lot of work. And
Yeah.
so like I figured out YouTube is playing ads on people's videos that are not monetized, because I've started to see them on
Yeah.
creators that have like 300 subscribers. And I'm like, okay, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and then 4,000 hours of watch time within 12 months. And so I'm like, that's a steep criteria, but then they're putting ads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you shouldn't be able to have it both ways. Either you pay the creators that you're putting the ads on and you
Yeah.
don't have any barrier for entry, or you
Yeah.
don't put ads on unmonetized people's channels. This is wrong.
Yeah. True.
But
Well, are you excited
anyway,
about this 1970s Wuthering Heights movie we're getting ready to
I've
watch?
had a stressful day, so just any kind of entertainment
Yes.
needed. I got into a job. They said it was one thing, and it wound up being the opposite. It's
Oh.
basically telemarketing.
Oh
So
no.
it's for like Medicare, stuff like that.
Oh
So it's
gosh.
a legitimate business. It's not spam. People do
Yeah.
put in their information, but they don't realize that they're putting it into all the companies that are using that form. And I'm like, I don't like this. These are not warm calls. These people have been harassed by like 50 million companies calling them. So I'm absolutely hating it. And then they also have a tiered system. So your quality of leads is worse depending on
Oh
where you are in the
gosh.
tier. And there's like 40
Sounds awful.
tiers, and I'm tier 6. So I'm getting the oldest leads that have been called over and over again. Because if you're getting the quick leads where someone filled out the form 5 minutes ago, of course they want to talk to you. They want to get everything set up. They wanted the information. But you're getting the old stuff, and it's like, no, almost all of my calls were do not call list or hangups. And this one guy was like cussing me out, and then I was trying to give him the number to get removed quicker, and he was like, no, 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 da, da, da. Why can't you just call the number for me? I'm like, sir, it does not work that way.
That's
So
rough.
I grabbed me a Smirnoff, and I got some plate of cheese rolls over here. So
Yeah, we've had some wonderful times and some stressful times lately. It's like a lot of good and a lot of, you know, like just, extended family members are sick and things like that. And, it's just like at Christmas time, you just want to be cozy. It's just what you want to do. You don't want to have to deal with all these other things. And we're also, my daughter and I, and actually my little one's singing Silent Night, but we were singing in a choir production at our church on Sunday. And that's like, I am okay, but I'm not really a singer, but it's something I'm doing to kind of stretch myself and do something a little different. I read music well enough to get by. Good thing I'm a soprano, because that's the only thing I could figure out in there. I don't think I could figure out the alto part. But so that's another thing. It's like, I love it. I love it. It's been so much fun, and it's been great to I think you should always do something that scares you a little bit. Like this, starting a YouTube channel was very scary for me. This being live right now, even though I don't know how many people are actually watching right now, I thought that was
find out. No.
probably
Two, and one
two.
of them might be me. I don't know.
So
it might be me and you.
be here by ourselves. Well, at least we're having a good chat, and at least I'm getting over the doing something live for the first time experience, even if no one's watching. I'll know next time. Get out of the link and get back in it too if they don't see me there.
That's what's so strange. I believe that's been the case for all of the co-hosts.
Really?
I don't think any of them had ever done a live. MJ might have. I'm not.
I think she does on her channel pretty frequently, just chatting and stuff a lot of times. But and she has she has this all down kind of to a science now, it seems. She's definitely a good person to watch and learn from, and how they're doing things. So, but I think, it's just like you reap what you sow too. She's been so kind and, like,
She's in
pushing other,
everybody's Starverse.
you
Like,
know, you
you're
know,
just
she just promotes and promotes people, and just like gets people started, and like people that have 4 subs, like after she's talked about them, they have 50, and it's just, I think it's good, like, to let people know that, you're part of it. You're part of this group. You're, this, and I've, for the most part, had nothing but kindness. I had someone that was pretending to be a dead Russian writer write a random message about how he liked white women that loved literature, and that's pretty much the only weird bad thing I've had happen. Because yeah, it was like, my response, "Hi,
we actually
Monty
haven't started yet, so you're right on time.
B."
We've just been hanging out. Y'all don't know. Well, Monty knows because she was one of the hosts for Frankenstein. But y'all don't know, like with the guest host, I did not know any of these people before they volunteered. They just offered
Yeah,
themselves to be guinea pigs. And I think I had like 24 subscribers at the time. So it was MJ who
yeah,
did all this because I put out the announcement. MJ shared it
yeah.
everywhere.
That
And
was so
so that's how
sweet.
we got all the co-host was MJ.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't
and
have
then
a
you
network.
came, you were kind enough to come to me, I think, because you saw that I had talked about some classics.
Oh
I
yes.
am extraordinarily eclectic in my reading, though. I don't read a whole lot of contemporary romance because smut makes me, but,
Mine
but
depends on how it's written, the language that's
yes,
used, because I'm also
yes,
so certain things, certain language around it, I'm literally repulsed by it. It's grossed out. But
yes,
then if it's like the emotional connection and the bond
yes.
that people are sharing, completely different.
Yes, that is definitely changes things a little bit. But it's so funny. Sometimes
Oh,
you'll think you're reading a nice, sweet, clean book, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're like, "Oh wow, I did not see
I
that
always
coming."
get shocked when it goes from like you got to read like 200 pages in to get the first kiss, and then they're in bed with each other in the same chapter. And I'm
I
like,
don't
you're going to sucker up.
understand.
And then you just went wham bam. And I'm like, okay.
I don't understand. Yeah, it's.
I was expecting there to be a little bit of slow progression.
I know. I know. I'm not a big Insta love fan, but that's just me. I do like a little bit of a slower burn. There are times where it works for me, but for the most part, I like slow burn all the way through. So
I just
until
gotta have
suddenly
the
it's not.
tension. Even if it happens quick,
Yes.
there needs to be
I
tension there.
mean, I'm big time X-Files fan, and like that Mulder and Scully, I don't know if you've ever seen X-Files, but like
Oh yeah.
years, it was just they gave us very little, very little. And a lot of it I watched after the fact, but I can imagine, I could watch
Oh
more
yeah.
at once,
It was airing in
and
like
like
the
I'm sure.
90s, but I haven't
Yes.
seen it since.
Yes.
So it's
So
been a long time.
yeah, I do love those, like, you work together and you're under high stakes situations, like those types of slow burn romances
I
too.
like the
I
Blade.
just thinking about it because
Have you seen The Blades? It's
I
like a police
haven't.
show.
Ooh,
You gotta watch it because there's a girl
where do you find that streaming
Hulu.
at? Hulu. Okay, I've got
It's
Hulu.
called The Blades. So it's got this homicide detective, and he's probably like mid 30s, and then he has the hots for this medical girl. So she's like working to become a doctor or something like
Okay.
that. She's already like a nurse practitioner or something. And she has a son as well. Her husband's in prison, but they
Okay.
haven't divorced yet. She keeps helping him out with all the cases because he can't get into women's heads. So anytime it's like a woman that's a suspect, he like goes to her for advice.
That's funny.
And so it's really cute. And then you're like,
I'll have
will
to
they,
check that
won't
out.
they? Is she gonna leave her husband? Like, what's gonna happen
Oh,
here? There's like
okay.
4 seasons. So I've been slowly going through that show, but Oh my gosh, the tension in season 1.
Yeah.
I like finished the whole season in a night. I was like, what are they gonna guess? Are they gonna guess?
And I don't know, I'm drawn. Hey, Nicole. Thanks for dropping in to say hi. I was wondering. I was like, if Nicole came, what time is it? It's morning, but what time? Because it's 4:34 here.
Okay, so it
So
would be 8:34 a.m.
okay.
I figured that
Well,
out because she's a co-host next month.
so you've got to do like an
I
8.
got it down. I know
Yeah,
Australian time
you've
conversions
got
now.
the time zone in there.
See, I was right. Confirmed.
Yay! You're so smart.
Oh man. I was
Yeah,
like,
she's having morning coffee while we're in like probably in the afternoon slump. It's like, how do I stay awake until 9
right.
p.m. when I can go to bed?
Oh my gosh. That's why I was like, I kind of like doing these a little bit early
Yes. Yes.
because it makes
I
it
am not a late night person. So yeah, that's good. But yes, the procedural things with the man and the woman. And I like it when the woman is just like almost like so scientific that they can't communicate with the world in general. Like that, another show that was like that
flash.
was Bones. Well, I mentioned Bones earlier because I mentioned TJ Thine, but that was one show that had like a really smart woman and, very cute, detective guy. And then they were over the course of several seasons, it's like, are you going to finally get together or not?
I was like that even with Felicity and Arrow.
Oh my gosh, Arrow.
I don't know
Yes.
why I said Flash a minute ago. I was like, wait, no, that's Arrow. Felicity and Arrow. Because there's crossover between the shows.
Yes. I I was really invested in that one. That one definitely. Yes. Talk about like a couple that like so opposites like attract, and like she was not really a superhero, and but I was always waiting for her to like have something happen to her that she would get some sort of superpowers. I always thought they were probably going to do that at some point because it always seems like they do, but I'm so glad they didn't because it just showed you can be a normal girl. They never showed her like wearing like a midriff showing thing. She was just a normal, pretty girl, and you don't have to be like superhero status.
The
Yes.
anticipation is the best part
Yes.
when you want two characters to get together. Yeah.
Girl, yes.
I
Yes.
wanted it really bad with that other show that came out, Julia and the Phantoms, but then I found out the reason why they didn't do it is because
She
he's
was
16,
underage.
he's 22. So I was like, at least one show takes that under
I am
consideration.
I am so upset. That's so funny because like no one knows what
Other
I'm
shows
talking
just
about.
don't care.
No
They
one
just
knows what I'm talking about when I mention that, but I am glad. But you know what? They could have kept that going without kissing or anything like that
yeah.
for a couple more seasons. I don't understand why they canceled that show. You guys watch Julie and the Phantoms.
Yeah, I thought maybe it just got delayed during COVID, and I was
No,
hoping
I think it
that.
was like it was everything was at first, but I
That would
think
be
it
perfect.
was
She's probably like 18 by now.
she is. She is,
So
but
they can kiss.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard they're going to Disney Plus and trying to see if they can get in there, and they're also going to um checking with Hulu and places like people like that. So I don't know if anything will come of it, but
I
she's
mean, they
18
even have
now. But
built
also
in for a spinoff.
they need to decide like if they wanted to time jump, because obviously she was like 15 when they filmed that. She looks like a young adult now.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it's a good thing because she got to step away from that Hollywood thing for a couple of years and become an adult and probably have a little bit more of a normal high school
Some
experience.
actors and stuff like that are learning to do that, and they're actually stepping away during the height of their career so they don't
Yeah.
get boxed in and oversaturated. Tom
Yeah.
Holland and Zendaya.
Yeah.
Everyone's going crazy because they're talking about getting married, and she might be pregnant or something already, and all this other kind of stuff. They bought a house together. I'm like, they're
Yeah.
26. They might look like babies, but they're 26 and they've had full careers already. So it's like
Yeah.
they're adults. They're not children. Like
No.
this is normal to be thinking about at 26.
Yes. I was very young when I got married. I was 21.
See, I
And
was 19, so
so you were even younger.
I was like, I don't advise that, but it worked for me.
It
But
worked.
I am
It
the
worked.
exception, not the rule.
I
So.
well, and I know several people, but um I think that there is a different mindset for a lot of people in Oklahoma where you you grow together. You do what you do, you have your careers, but you grow together. So, I mean, I feel like that's not necessarily everywhere. I think like different because in LA it would have been like, I knew a lot of people that I'm not saying LA is all like this, but like a lot of people they're going so much for their own careers that they don't figure out. And I think you should, follow pursue dreams. But if you can't figure out how to grow together, it's just not gonna work. We're getting very philosophical now, but
Getting up for filming today and sorting my Advent series. I watched the episode 10 today because I was curious what book you're gonna
I've
unwrap.
I've really been enjoying them, Nicole. I mean, yesterday's though, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking Advent books. Maybe they're gonna send you holly jolly things. Nope. People are, having a really hard racial time in that book. So
You know what we should
yes.
read together? That would be hilarious because you said you don't like steamy books.
Are you wanting to watch me turn bright red and blush and
A
die
Merry
here?
Little Christmas by Julie Murphy.
Now,
It's
is
about
that
this actor, and then he's like in a movie or something
uh-huh.
with a girl who's actually a like adult performer, but they
Yeah.
don't want her to tell anyone that she's an adult performer in the movie because that could give like bad press. But I'm like, that could be an interesting romance.
Yeah.
A merry little meet cute or something. I don't remember what it's called, but it looks cute. But anyway, Tammy's had long enough. I'm so sorry, Tammy.
Bless her heart. I'm sure something happened, like, because she was excited about everything. So,
Y'all, what was so funny is I was the one freaking out last night thinking that I was going to forget it. Literally, when I was messaging y'all last night, I thought that I had already missed it at first and that it was supposed to be yesterday and it was like 5:30 and I was like, "Oh my
oh
gosh."
no,
But I was like, "Wait, no.
I'm
It's
glad that I'm glad that everything worked out for me to get on because I was panicking when I was like, "Does she see me? Does she see me?"
But we will go ahead and get into the movie. I think everyone's had plenty of time to get here and
Yeah.
hopefully Tammy will see this and she'll be able to hop on at the end. And she's already watched this version of the movie, so I mean, no big deal there. So,
I have not seen it. I'm anticipating me, kind of laughing at it a little bit.
that's why I was telling y'all when we were talking about the different versions. I was like, I kind of want
Yeah.
to do the 2012 just so I don't
Yes.
cringe the whole time, but this one was easier for people to get
Cringe can be fun sometimes too.
just so
That's why
that
I'm
would
such a
probably
big
be
The Office
hilarious.
fan.
Oh man. But yep, let's go ahead and
Okay,
start watching and
perfect.
then we'll come back on here after the movie. So I guess both of us will just mute. I'm gonna turn my screen off or I'm gonna be conscious of what I'm looking like the whole
Okay.
time. And
All right. I'll turn the camera and the mic off. All
stuffing my
right.
face with my cold pizza rolls.
Sounds good. I'll see you back here in a bit.
All right, bye.
Bye.
My goodness.
I know. What did we just watch? What the heck was that? I don't know. That wasn't Wuthering Heights. I don't know what it was, but it was not like the book that we just read. I mean, first of all, I understand that it is a different media form, that they can take some liberties with the film. Yes. Let's establish that that's okay with me up front.
They only did like the first third of the book.
But yeah, I mean, the most interesting part of the whole story to me is the children and how they can have the opportunity to kind of redeem the screw up that was their parents. They don't do it great, but you have the opportunity for that to happen, and to just cut that off. And okay, I hope everyone has caught up to us, but the ending, did Isabel? I didn't understand. Did Isabella shoot him, or was it Edgar? Because Edgar hadn't like died or anything, or not Edgar. The brother,
Henry or whatever, which I didn't even remember was a character in the book.
Yeah.
So I was getting confused, but I was also confused when I was reading it when they transitioned over, because it didn't feel like a smooth hop.
Yeah.
When they went from her death to the children being there. So I was so confused, because then they chose to name the girl the same name.
Yes.
Are we going back in time?
Which was, I think, more common for, obviously it's pretty common for men to do it, but I think it was more common to do it for daughters back in the day. But, oh my gosh. Well, of course, we knew it was going to be over dramatic. And, but what do you think about the casting? How do you think it was cast? I thought Kathy was pretty well cast, except for she looked like she was 35, I mean, and she's supposed to be like what? Yeah, like in her late teens, maybe 20 by the time she has the baby and dies. I'm like, so, I mean, as far as like, if Kathy had lived to be older, she had her down, but she was too old. And but I thought she's well cast. I thought that, like, first of all, Edgar Linton's supposed to be like a good guy. He was like really harsh he's supposed to be very tender to her and to his sister in the book. So I thought he was, although very handsome, miscast. Isabel was just clueless. She wasn't supposed to be just like hoity-toity in the book. And then who else? Like, I don't know. Nellie, I thought she was cast pretty well, except Nellie was more nurturing in the book. But what's up with
Nellie is old the whole book?
Well, if you think about it, she wasn't that much older than Kathy and Heathcliff. So, I mean, if you think about the fact that, she should be older by the time that Mr. Lockwood comes along or whatever. They totally got rid of like the tenant thing, and he was the catalyst for, Nellie telling the story. They just went straight to Nellie telling the story, which is fine. Again, it's a film medium. We can't put everything in.
This was like 2 hours.
I'm like, how did they miss so much of the story and make it such a stinking long movie? I don't understand.
It felt long because they were trying to show you the romance by everything being ridiculously slow.
Wuthering Heights, in my opinion, really isn't a romance.
Yeah.
I think
I made it more so in the movie than in the book.
The first time I read it, I was probably a junior in high school, so I felt like it was. I think the first time I read it in that less mature state. I've always kind of liked the grow up together and then fall in love trope, but this made it almost seem like something incestuous was happening.
It was, because the hint with the wife when he first came in, and he was like, "Oh, you were always too smart," basically saying like, "This is my illegitimate child."
Exactly. And I don't feel like the book, I mean, you always wonder a little bit, but I don't feel like the book pushes our minds that direction like the movie did. And so It's
But
like I didn't
people in
want to
the book
watch a
reviews
flowers in the
that
attic
tagged
type
it.
movie today. What did you say?
People, when I looked at the book reviews, people had tagged it under content warnings. They put incest, and I was like, huh, maybe they were cousins somehow. But it was like,
Yeah.
who's in here? Who's on that?
Which
But
the
also in
cousin
the
thing
book,
did happen back then, and it wasn't considered
yes,
weird.
yes. But also in the book, I read him as being black the whole time. And the more modern adaptations do show Heathcliff as being black,
Interesting. Now,
but
because
not the
I
older
don't
one.
remember them saying it, but the
They use the
wife.
word dark several
Yes,
times when describing
I
him.
always in my mind pictured like a kind of Romani gypsy type person, but that is very interesting. That we can read it and interpret
Because that
it,
would
but
complicate it. If you include
but
the
I
race
don't
thing in
think.
there,
I
that's
think
another reason for her to be like, oh no, this will never happen because of
yes,
she is
yes,
like that. She cares about those things.
exactly. Um, yeah. So it was. I
Interesting.
don't know what that was, but that was that was a. I mean, and the I'm like I felt the passionate kissing. I was like, this is the awkwardest kissing I have ever watched in
Oh
a
my
movie.
god.
I was like,
All of it was abusive. It's like, let's do some abuse first. Let's
yes,
throw you against the wall, bite your
yeah.
lip
Oh
off.
my gosh! And then when Heathcliff threw Catherine to the ground, like
I
I'm
was
like,
like, this is not sexy.
this is yuck. So I can't say I'm a fan of this adaptation, but it was a good time. I mean, I got to have a few giggles and,
I will say it was not as dramatic as the trailers that I'd watched for like the
oh, did
1930s
you?
version.
Okay, so I
That one would have just been too much.
how do you think they did with the famous line like I am Heathcliff? That's like kind of the famous line. I thought she did that part fairly well because it's pretty dramatic and it's hard to say that without being like so cheesy, but that's kind of like the famous line from the book is
And then
I
the
am
one where he
Heathcliff,
comes
Heathcliff
in
is me
with
or
her
whatever.
being pregnant and giving his whole spiel.
Yeah.
I'm just like, y'all just it's like the true definition of like hate and love at the same time.
Yes.
That's kind of how he
Well,
was like, I hate you because I love you so much. You broke my heart.
and I know this is so shallow, but I just like I know she's been laying in bed for several months or whatever, but didn't you want to just take a brush to her hair? Like
That scene was so it was like out of theater.
I'm like, I'm like, Nellie, have you not been taking care of Miss Catherine's hair while
Oh
she's
my
been like in
gosh. And then the sweaty scenes. She was
ah
crying, but not only was she crying, but like she was percolating sweat on her entire face. I did really
gross.
feel
It
like
was
get a
yeah, there
washcloth.
were so many scenes where I'm just like, this is just gross. It's just gross. I don't know.
The one time I can't even remember if he actually kissed her when he like pushed her up against the barn wall and put dirt all over her face. I can't remember if they kissed or
I
not.
think that was before because like he didn't actually, I think, kiss her until she was like married, which in the book, yes, they're acting inappropriate for her being a married lady, but there's no implication of them,
Infidelity.
yeah,
Which
infidelity
made me feel a lot more sympathy for her husband.
for Edgar, yes.
I
Um,
felt a lot for him in this movie. I'm like, boy, you were done wrong.
yeah, like I
Because all
know.
he was like patient and understanding. And then when
Yes.
it was to the point where he's like, okay, now you've gone too far and you've went and violated my sister. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I don't know what I think about that. That was I do. I don't like it. It's just I thought it was too much.
and it
And
made the sister seem very stupid. Because she knows
yes.
that he's in love with
Yes.
the other girl. Like, why would you choose a guy that you know wants to
Yeah,
be
it
with
was more
somebody
subtle.
else?
It was more subtle in the book and it worked a lot better because he was in this movie he was abusive to her before they ever married. In the book he flipped a switch after they got married and became
In
abusive.
the book, I thought that it was that he was like neglectful in the marriage, like basically just kind of cast her aside.
Yes, but it does mention that he hurt her. I think one time I think he beat her. So there was some physical abuse as well, but yeah,
I
I
was
think
pretty sure
it
he
was
was physically abusive to the son because the son was always so scared to be alone with them.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll get into that, a lot of that with the next week, but when we discuss the whole book. But yeah, it was sad to like kind of lose some of the character studies of the second half of the book. I found reading as like a more middle-aged person instead of like, I think the two times I've read it before, once was when in high school, and once was like 20, I was 20 probably when I read it. And so this time around, I found the children more interesting than Heathcliff and Kathy because, but yeah, it's so weird how they made Nellie like being in love with like
The brother.
Henley or whatever
Yeah,
his name
I
was.
didn't catch that at all in the
Yeah,
book.
that wasn't in the book. That was something. And so that may have been an interesting, like, just, I'm okay with that, take on it if they wanted to do that. But there were the other part, the, you know, abusive, physical, weird stuff. Yeah, I'm not a fan. So,
I just felt so confused in the book because we were bringing up the children, where they even came from. So I was like, I didn't know how they were connected. I knew that he had like went off and married the sister, so I was like, maybe that was the boy.
yes.
And then I didn't even catch that that she had had a child,
Okay.
that Kathy had
Well,
had a child.
so
I thought she starved herself to
they
death.
did not, and I think that um they make it, I think she's like supposedly died of a broken heart, but they do not announce that she's pregnant earlier in the book. We find out she's had the baby when when they tell us she died. She had the baby, she dies. And so we're like, oh my gosh, she was pregnant this whole time.
I
So,
literally just thought she starved herself to death. Like she
yeah,
refused to eat and starved herself to death. And then at
yeah.
the end of the book, Heathcliff dies the same way. He starves himself.
I feel like yeah, because they're
Or they're
so
using
like,
euphemisms. I don't know.
so depressed because he does stop coming to the dinner table um and all that. But um yeah, I dislike Heathcliff in the book. I disliked him even more in the 1970s Wuthering Heights movie.
I had sympathy for him in the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. Because,
But not in the
and in
end.
the book, it talks about how, like, the kids had gotten, like, a childhood illness or something like that. And that, Nellie was saying that Heathcliff was the only one that bore it patiently and all that. So, like, I think he was a good child. Like, he wasn't necessarily exhibiting evil behaviors until after the father dies, and then the brother takes over the estate and makes him basically essentially a servant. But I mean, this book definitely, like we said, pushes the idea that Heathcliff was an illegitimate son. So
Which
I don't
would make
I don't
more
know.
sense for him trying to get his child to marry so that he could inherit the property, because it's like, yeah, I get this back.
Yeah.
I get what's mine.
Yeah. Um
It's
but
going to be really interesting, especially when Tammy joins us for the
yes.
live show, because she said she did some like context research for the time period and everything.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Were you not shocked in the book when he literally calls someone a slut? Like he uses the word slut.
Yes. I think
I
that
was
probably
like,
would have been like worse than like,
a
maybe
woman
even
writer
using
publishing a
this.
book with that in there. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
that would
my.
be worse than like a woman using, probably back then, a woman using like the C word today, I would imagine. Um, but yeah, I was surprised because like I
I was
I
shocked.
forgot
I
about
didn't
that.
even realize that was like such an old word. It feels so modern to
It
me.
really does.
Oh my.
But can you imagine how even more inappropriate it probably would have been to use back then? So
That's
like,
why I'm thinking this book got so popular, because she went where other authors probably would not go with the way she did her
yes.
characters. it definitely had some semblance of like the Count of Monte Cristo in ways, like with him coming back and then and then the
Yeah.
vengeance stuff. But I like
Yeah.
the Count of Monte Cristo
Although I
better.
think the Count of Monte Cristo, like he had some, I don't know if Heathcliff
He had
has
the
any
biggest
has
person
any
in Count of Monte
redeeming
Cristo.
qualities. We have to get our redeeming qualities from other characters in this, not Heathcliff. You know, he doesn't have redeeming qualities. They're just not there for him. After the point where the father dies and his life changes, there's the and um especially after um Kathy refuses him when she's already married. It's like he's just like his redeeming qualities are even more gone. So yeah, it's, I don't know.
Looks like we weren't the only ones show.
Yeah, Nicole saw that, heard that too, or read that too. I mean,
I
I
was
was
listening to the
I was
audiobook
listening
as
too,
well.
and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need my 8 and 10-year-old sons to, and I don't even know. I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't even think my 12-year-old daughter has heard that kind of language. You know, I don't know. I was like, oh, because they live relatively sheltered lives. I was like, okay, we're not going to be able to listen to this without earbuds anymore. Because I thought, you know, I had read it in high school, and I had I mean, we didn't read like really things with a lot of language. So I was like, I don't remember that. Maybe I had a slightly abridged version that had like that word taken out. You would think that would have stuck in my
I
memory.
took an English class and I forgot what it was, but we did read some classics and we read some contemporary, like modern classics as well. And
Hmm.
then we would watch the movie adaptation. So basically, we'd read the book, and then that Friday we would watch
Yeah.
the movie adaptation. So we did that for quite a few books, and one of them was the dog one that's super popular. I can't remember. It has like an upside down dog on the cover, and it's orange. I forgot what it's called, but it has like 80 F bombs.
Oh, really? So, okay.
And then the other one was Atonement, I think had a lot of foul language as well.
Atonement, I think has, I haven't read the book, but I've seen the movie, and I've heard that like it has some pretty graphic scenes. But um, the one that I read as an adult that I know a lot of people read in high school recently was Catcher in the Rye, and I was just like, there were so many GDs. I wish that I would have actually
Oh,
like um DNF'd that one, because I was like, that's the one thing that like I try to avoid.
I'm the
And I
same.
was,
I will go in the book with whiteout, so I don't have to read it
you know
again.
what? That's smart, you know, and
Because then if you
but
want to reread the book, you don't have to see that. Because I'm like, to me, I'm not really offended by language anymore, except for that one.
yes,
That's the one that's offensive.
because
Not
that,
for
you know,
any
it
other.
means something, whereas
Yeah,
the
you wouldn't
people,
put
when
any
they
other
people
god
just
inside of it.
throw
People would laugh and
language
say it's
out
stupid.
there, but you know, it's like that is something that means something, and it will always mean something. And yeah, so I
If
was
you replaced it with
shocked.
anything else, people would laugh at it for being silly. So why is it okay to do that for one? You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah,
for some religions, there is only one God, so it's always referring to that God, whether you do capital G or lowercase.
yes,
You
absolutely.
wouldn't replace it with somebody else's religious figure, or it would just be
Exactly,
offensive.
yeah.
So why is it not both ways?
I agree. I agree. But yeah, that was just the weirdest. And like I think you commented creepy. I was like, yeah, this is creepy.
And then with her coming back at the end, and her just like, that's the thing with the book. I thought we were going to get that in the book. Like that she was going to be a real ghost. That was going to be the story. And
Yeah,
they did not use it at all.
they don't really pursue that in the book. And that's one of the interesting like parts, that when you read the book, and you know, he's the tenant is staying in Wuthering Heights and has that ghosty feel. I think that's like a fun part of the beginning, and there's no follow through with that in the book. And in a way, or they didn't they did it in the movie, but in the book they did not. In a way, I'm okay with it, because he didn't deserve to get her in the end. He just didn't deserve to have a happily ever after in the afterlife. He was horrible. He abused children. He abused his wife. So I almost feel like they don't deserve to be happy together. I wouldn't have felt that way when I read this when I was younger. I in my mind thought, oh, they're together again.
I'm always like, why is this like supposed to be our example of true love and romance?
Well, and like Romeo and Juliet too, it's like they both died, and just like a suicidal mess. Um, I don't. It's not my favorite Shakespeare play, but I really love the ballet of I've got a dance background. I love the ballet of Romeo and Juliet. I think the music is so beautiful. Choreography is always done so well. So I understand, like, and some of the movies have been done really well, but it's just like I need, if it's not a happy ending, it has to be really well done. And I know I don't think you were really a fan of the book. I am a fan of the book. I enjoy the book. I like the character study. I
think I like the book more now that I have more context from the movie, if that makes
Yeah. I
sense.
think
I
you
feel like
should
I
go
missed
ahead and you
that,
should watch what was it, the 2012 that you wanted to watch?
which I feel like is going to show the children because in the preview there was a lot of
Yeah.
kids.
I am going to check out the BBC, which I don't know what year it was. The BBC one from my library has that one. So I was curious about that one. So you watch the 2012 one, I'll watch the BBC one, and we'll see if we get something out of it that we didn't from the book. Because there are things in the book that I'm still like,
Huh?
it is. And maybe she intended us to kind of feel that way, to be questioning and not necessarily understand every little thing, because that is something that authors do employ sometimes. But yeah,
I'm not against doing the 2012 version with you. We can get it on Amazon. You would just have to sign up for a 7-day trial for this other service.
okay, let's see how the rest of
I'm not
this
sure.
this month goes. But yeah, that might be kind of fun. But yeah,
It's like we went crazy with Frankenstein. We did like 3 of these.
you know what? I haven't watched recently watched an adaptation, but I loved Frankenstein. I'm so glad that I read that
I enjoyed
with you
it
guys.
too. I know Monty hated it.
Did she?
She hated it.
Aw, that's too
Liked the
bad.
discussion, but she hated the book.
I did not like Dracula. I did not enjoy Dracula. I thought I
Me
would,
nor
because
the nor the
I like
co-host.
vampire stuff, but I was like dull, offensive to women, and just
See, I couldn't even get as far as where it became offensive to women because I was so
well, and
boring.
some people did not interpret it that way. Now I had one of my friends on BookTube, Courtney Reed. She loves Dracula because she felt the sense of community fighting against evil, and I can see that point of view now. And that's why it's always great to talk to other people about these classics, because it's like I can really see her point of view after hearing it, but that's not what my mind was focusing in on when I was reading it. My mind was focusing on like, this isn't very exciting. I want it to be more exciting. I want to get off the ship. I want I want the women to not, they were, the men reacted so differently than the women did when they had their Dracula experiences. So, I mean, I didn't like that.
What
But
I'm
some
noticing,
people enjoyed the way the women reacted and thought that it was, but I don't know. I felt like they were, when you are bit by a vampire, you're basically being drugged. So they thought, oh, the women are being so forward and free. And I'm like, no, they're being drugged. They're being assaulted.
oh my.
But I don't know. And that variety is a spice of life. We all have different opinions on these things. And so, yeah.
What I'm
But
seeing with these classics is that I'm not liking the ones that are told with this writing style of you're introducing someone that then a character tells the story to. I'm like,
okay.
why can't you just follow the actual character and make it feel in the moment?
And And that way you can see in their head a little bit more.
Yes, and that's why I think I liked the Jane Austen book, Pride and Prejudice, so much, because I think it was in first person. Or it
Yeah,
might have been third person, but you
third,
were
I think it was
following
third
that
person,
one
but you
character.
do get a sense of what they're thinking and feeling and inside their head.
Yeah. It's like a third limited, I guess, that only goes
Yeah.
into her head.
Yeah. Because like to talk about a modern YA, like in things like Twilight, you only got like until she did her, Midnight Sun or whatever, you only got like Bella's point of
Yeah.
view of what was happening and how she was thinking and feeling about like the vampires. But yeah, and I do like it when we get to be into multiple different characters' heads. But I don't mind it. I didn't mind the narration in this book because Nellie was my favorite character and the only one that had high redeeming qualities, a moral compass, a moral
I
character.
did like Nellie.
So, I mean, we do have to have, and that's why I like, there was a very popular thriller that I recently DNF'd because I'm like, there is not a single person in this book with a moral compass. And if there is not a single person in the book, of course we're going to have some people in the book without a moral compass or lacking a strong one or whatever. But if you don't have someone with a strong moral compass, I lose interest very, very quickly because I don't feel like there's a reason to go on.
I feel like that's some authors' whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
they basically just write the worst of humanity is what I call it. Like these are the worst of humanity authors. So like Karen Slaughter, her book, I was like, all of these characters are wretched. Stephen King, a lot of his stuff is like the worst sides of humanity.
Yeah.
The Paula Hawkins or whatever she's called, Girl on the Train author.
I have not read any of hers. I started reading Girl on the Train and I lost interest rather quickly. I compare a lot of seeing and spying on other people's like lives when they don't realize, oh, I have my baby here.
Oh,
this is Hagrid.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you say that because I braided my hair last night. So when I took it down initially before this video,
you thought you looked like Hagrid.
It was like out here. And when you were talking earlier, I was like looking at the side, so I wasn't looking directly at me, but I could see me. And I was like, I look like Hagrid. The hair was like this. I was like, I should cosplay Hagrid. I just need a beard.
Well, we named him Hagrid because he's a Yorkie, but he's the biggest Yorkie I've almost ever seen. He's like 16 pounds, so he's huge. But yeah, this is the first time I had read it. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting to be abusive and dark. And I don't really feel there is a lot of romance in my mind. No, I agree, Nicole. I don't think it's romance at all.
Didn't find it offensive.
She's not going to Dracula, I think. I guess that is how women were betrayed. I had read about Dracula, like a non-spoiler review that said that they felt like women were more independent thinkers in this because we're so forward in their romance of Dracula after they were bitten. But I was like, no, they were bit. They are drugged. They are not in control of their own emotions and feelings at that point. So that was actually the issue that I had with Dracula. But just like I do agree with what Courtney said too, Nicole. So yeah. Well, this is fun. You get to talk to people in real time, real life.
The hair's like nosy. What do you want, buddy?
Cutie pie.
You want to show people tricks?
Oh, yeah.
Can you give me
Good
paw?
job.
I don't know if you can really see it, but
I can. I can see the sit. I didn't see the paw. I can see how cute he is.
You would give me. He can do kiss too. I've taught him that one.
Aw.
Sit. Shit. You see me? Yeah. Kiss, kiss.
Oh, that's adorable.
I taught him how to do it. Oh
So,
man.
do you think that, and I don't know if the themes of Wuthering Heights would be the same to most people, but do you think that the movie at all upheld the themes that the book puts out there?
I mean, yeah, I would say so. I liked it because I felt like it gave more context to what I read in the book.
Yeah.
I think some stuff just kind of went over my
I
head.
think like, and we'll talk about this more next Friday, but I think like one of the big themes is just class and how awful the class system was, because they weren't even lords and ladies. Um, they were just not, they were, it seems like they would have been like upper middle class back then, but still, it was just like, well, not Edgar and Isabel. They were
Yeah.
upper class for sure,
Seeing
but
how different they were from Catherine, I was like,
yes.
okay, now I understand more of why she was like, yeah, I'll marry you.
Yes.
But I also didn't get her scheme to marry him for his money and then take it to go off and elope with Heathcliff.
See,
I didn't
that
read that.
was emphasized in the movie, but not in the book, I think.
Okay, so I didn't miss it then.
So, yeah.
I think they were trying to give her a redeemable quality while also making her more evil because Edgar was so
Yeah.
nice.
Yes.
And then when
Yeah.
Edgar
And I
kind of
thought
turned,
Edgar
it's
was
like,
even a little bit nicer in the book than he was in the movie, because he was a little like harsher, I think, with Isabel in the beginning of talking to, like, I think he was trying to reason with her, and Catherine was actually nicer in the movie to her than she was in the book. Catherine was just like in the book, like not even trying to have a sweet sisterly conversation. She was just like, I'm so over you. You're an idiot, if you think that he loves you. Yeah. So from what I have seen so far, I think it is holding up for sure. Yes, on the class system, that is it. They're middle class folk. Yeah, I agree, Nicole.
people had a
Yes.
lot nicer things back then.
Yeah,
Like, do you know how rich you would have to be to live in something like that and have all that land? I'm just like, oh my gosh, you'd have to be Bill Gates.
and like just passed down from family to from family member to family member down the line. Whereas like today, it's like we want to go to the next house, the next thing across town. Whereas back then it was like, this was your estate, this was your land, and you weren't going to give it up for anything. You were house and land rich a lot of times, instead of, I think, being money rich. But which, it reminds me, I can't remember the name of that part of town, but there's a part of town that was just like gorgeous in Los Angeles, beautiful, like, you know, houses that used to be like ritzy, and they've been passed actually down from person to person. But now most of those houses are actually like drug houses. And it's
Oh
like,
my.
these people that live there, if they sold the house, I mean, they could sell it for probably, even, and though it's not a good part of town, for like 800, $900,000, just because they're really, LA's expensive and they're really fancy houses, but they've just let them go. And a lot of times it's just like meth dens. And it's so interesting how, um, it's like it's been passed down and passed down, passed down, passed down, but it's like you don't see anybody taking care of it. But it was so different back then. It was your legacy, and it always would go to the oldest son, and which, so unfair, but
Oh man.
yeah. But I think that it's just such a different time. It's hard for us to wrap our mind around, like, having land like that, and having an estate. And I don't know, like, if you weren't poor, you had servants. That's just so
I don't understand the
different to us.
servant system because I don't know, like, were they treated the same way as, like, slavery, or were they getting paid for their work, or was it a room and board situation? Like, I don't
I
know, because
think it was
treated
if
well.
I think with like the servants, they probably got very low salaries and then room and board. But Nellie, I don't think a servant would talk to people that they worked for like that,
Yeah.
probably much back then. But she did kind of grow up with the older set, and then she was a mother to young Kathy, basically because her mother had died. And I felt like Nellie was a very, and we'll get into this more, reliable narrator, except when it came to young Kathy. I think because she had raised young Kathy, she kind of tucked her up a little bit more um, than what she was, because this was her child, basically. She'd raised her, and she had a soft spot for, was it Hinton? Was that the cousin that she ends up with? Because she had taken care of him when he was an infant. So I think with those characters, we got a slightly unreliable narration, just because it would be like me talking about my kids to you right now. I'm not going to tell them about like their faults, you know, on live on YouTube.
Hey, buddy. Why you keep nosing me? Huh? Why you keep nosing me, boy? Body. You need a potty? He said he's going like a little horse. He does like 3 hops like a little horse.
Well, I'm so glad we could do this. I'm sorry that Tammy wasn't able to make it, but
Hopefully she's okay, because I still
yeah.
haven't heard anything from her on
Yeah, on Discord, I didn't see
Discord.
anything. And that was weird. At one point, this knocked me out. I think it's because I hadn't touched my phone. It just kind of shut down for a little bit to sleep. And then I came back, I opened it back up, and it's like, I'm gone from it. So I'm glad I was able to get back in. Technology.
But yeah, we will be back, everybody, on the 16th, which is also going to be a Friday, same time. So it'll be 4.
4 p.m. Central Time.
Yep.
8 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah. Bear, I will let you out. He's like,
well, we better let you go so the dog
he like
doesn't wet the floor.
punches my hand with his nose because he already rang the doorbell. So I got a little. My husband's weird. Like when he gets package slips, my package slips, he will like post them on the door sometimes, like just the regular doors throughout the house. And so one time he did that with a Christmas ornament. He put it on the doorknob. So I was like, whatever. I just kept it there. And then we got him, and we noticed that he would ring the doorknob, like the little Christmas bells on the doorknob.
That's so funny.
Go out.
I know some people that do train their dogs to ring a bell when they need to go outside.
We didn't even train him. He just
That's
did
amazing.
But then here's the thing, though. He started to abuse the system once he realized that it worked. So anytime he wanted to see what was going on outside, or if he just wanted to be outside, he would also ring the bell. So he had to be like, okay, you got to ring it like 2 times before I'm going to take you, so I know that you need to potty.
That's funny.
Most times it was room and board along with a small income. But I was like, you can't even like raise a family, though, because you're just there to serve the other family.
Yeah, that's true. I think Nellie sees herself as her mother. She even says, my children, in the book. Yeah, I think she does.
Bye for now. Yeah.
Bye, Nicole.
Channel. Yeah, because the profile picture and everything changed. As I'm uploading videos. I need to figure out what I'm doing for videos. I have one that's supposed to go up tomorrow. So
yeah.
I need to edit that.
I have my normal scheduled is 4 p.m. and so I had one come out while we've been doing this. So
I'm trying now because I was doing 8 a.m. and then I was like, I don't think anyone's watching at 8 a.m. So let me try 4. So we'll see.
So it's funny though, because one time I accidentally scheduled for AM instead of PM, and I actually had more views. People, I guess, were watching while they were getting ready for work. In my time zone, I actually had other people they weren't allowed to marry or have children. That's so
Oh my
sad.
gosh.
Yeah.
And you're stuck there your whole life, and then when one of the children gets married, if you're that child's servant, then you move with them. That is just so much. It's basically like saying, "I'm gonna be a nun," but you're not gonna be a nun. You're gonna be
Yeah.
serving this child or
Yeah,
family.
and that's like why they
Golly.
were such slaves to the whatever class they were born into, and it makes you thankful for, sometimes it's hard to get out of your circumstances even today, but it's possible, it is very much possible. And I guess even back then, if you gambled and cheated your way to a house, that's what Heathcliff did. So
But what did he do when he left to get money? Because it doesn't tell us in the movie, and I can't
I'm
remember anything
thinking
from the
he
book.
was so good at gambling, he was taking other people's money. And it was the same thing that he did to the brother, because so that's my theory. I don't know for sure, but I'm not assuming that I'm assuming it was not on the up and up a way to get money.
I
He
went
didn't
to war for
he
you.
didn't he didn't get a bank job or anything like that. So yeah, he either cheated or gambled or stole to get it. Well, this was fun. I'm glad we got to do it, and we'll
Yeah.
let you let your sweet dog out to go to the
He's calmed
bathroom.
down now.
And
He
we'll
has
see
a little paw
everybody.
like this, and then he has another paw
Oh,
under his.
maybe he just wanted to see what was outside.
He never. What I think what happened was he went over here under my desk. I have like an L-shaped desk, so he
Hmm.
went around it and looked at me, and then I think I riled him up
Yeah.
because I was doing like the aggressive petting, and then I
Uh-huh.
think he was wanting to play. So he's like,
Yeah. Oop.
Go outside, play with me, play with me." I tried earlier, but he's a little dainty boy, and he doesn't like to be in the yard when it's wet and there's been
Oh, funny.
rain, so it's like muddy out there. So
Yeah.
he wouldn't play with me.
Yeah.
If you did marry, then you would have to leave, but some families would allow it, but usually no children. Yeah. But all right, I guess that's all for tonight. But
Okay.
yeah, y'all come back on Friday and we'll discuss the book. If you haven't read the book, but you watched the movie anyway, please still go read the book because the
Yeah.
things that we're going to discuss didn't happen
Yeah.
in the movie. So
And I know, yeah, and it is not a terribly long read. Like if you can and especially if you can listen to things like slightly
double
faster,
speed.
you can get through it. You can get through it in no time. I just like listened to this one while I was doing dishes and laundry, and I do that so many hours a day. I was done with the book in no time. So enjoy. But yeah, I listened to an excellent audiobook that I just downloaded from my library app. So
I don't know if they have an audio for the next book of the book that we're doing, Iowa Leroy. There might be like a free one from that site that does a bunch of them. Forgot what it's called, but I don't know that there was a free one anywhere
yeah.
else. But it's also written in like it feels like first person. It's
Okay.
very fast moving.
Hmm.
So I'm excited about that. And it's short, which is going to be a nice change from Dracula. And then
Yeah.
this book was like 340 pages.
Yeah.
So it was,
Which
pretty big for a classic.
yes, I mean that's what I like about a lot of the class. I mean, of course, there's mountain like things like Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like or
really long.
Gone with the Wind, or books like that where you're just like you have to invest like a month. Just almost. Um,
Evening for us.
good evening. Good. Have a good day, and well, good evening to us.
It's only a short book. He found a cute edition, so I wound up getting the same one. I don't know where I put it. When I say it's short, it is short. So this is the next one.
That'll be fun. I haven't read that one, so
But it took me 10 minutes to read a page and a half. So the font is very small. It's very small, and the dialect is written the way she did the dialect how it sounds, not how it's spelled.
Okay.
So it might be difficult for some people. So I was like, if there's an audiobook, you might want to pair it. Because I like orate or whatever each word that's in a book. So that's what was slowing me down. But I really do like it. So I'm making like a vlog. It's hilarious because of the things that just went over my head, even in the first chapter. So the slave comes back from like the market, and he snuck this newspaper article with him to show the other slaves. So he goes to one of the kitchen ones, and he was like, "Guess what? The Yankees are winning." And so the other servant is like, "Yeah." And here I am thinking they're talking about baseball. And they're not. They're talking about the Civil War. And I was like, I thought it was odd that they were so excited about baseball, but at the same time, I didn't catch on until like 3 pages later that they weren't talking about baseball because they were calling the other team lowercase segregates. And I was like, I've never heard of that baseball team.
That's hilarious.
So who knows how many other moments are just going to fly right.
Oh my gosh. Cliff notes.
Oh, it's like, let me vlog my stupidity for everyone to get entertainment from.
Well, if you don't know, you don't know. You've got to learn. That's why we read classics.
I was like, I knew that it was set in that time frame. I knew that they were slaves, but I'm still going into it with it just being fiction because it is a fiction book. So I wasn't thinking. So I was just like, okay, they really like baseball. But anyway, yeah, y'all go pick up Isla Leroy for next month. And don't forget to read Wuthering Heights before the live show if you haven't already.
Yes.
But that's all I've got for tonight. So unless you have anything, y'all
No, I'm good.
Go check out her channel. I did a little thing in the description. I don't know if it worked or not, but
I had the opposite response when I haven't read the book yet. I didn't know it was a book. I watched on North and South on Netflix, and I thought I was getting ready to watch a Civil War thing. And it's set in England. It wasn't about the Yankees and the Confederates at all. So I was like, okay, I'm not watching a Civil War drama. I'm watching an English period drama. And it's based on Elizabeth Gaskell's book. So so I need to read that book now. But it was a great movie, so I'm assuming the book will be even better. All right.
All right. See y'all.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.